Now,
all right, let's look at
if you're Democratic
CNN.
incumbent in this climate, you like what you see on the map.
Right. And again, early yet, we still have 44% of the vote left to come in. My point is Daniel Cameron is regarded within the GOP, and even, I think, just within political circles in Kentucky, nonpartisan ones, as something of a superstar.
Yeah.
Right? He is regarded highly as somebody with a very bright political future. You do not want...
But a lot of Republicans still didn't like it.
Yeah. Andy Bashir, the GOAT.
About 1/5 of the vote is in Ohio. Issue 1 would put the right to an abortion in the state constitution, would allow for restrictions after the point of fetal viability, about 22, 24 weeks. And it's basically almost 65% yes on that right now. Our declaration from the decision desk is that yes is leading in this. No surprise when you see numbers like that. And I think if you just start to look at the pattern that's developing here, there was, if anybody remembers, there was this test vote in Ohio this summer. Opponents of issue 1 anticipating this night put a question on the ballot this summer that would have raised the threshold for a constitutional amendment to a starting point for issue 1 in a Republican county,
Ohio
a population-dense Republican county. And again,
live down
the
the
returns
shame
that
of
we are
being
seeing
from
right
there.
now look pretty consistent with what we saw over the summer.
Steve, this is fascinating to me, particularly the idea that summer vote was a proxy vote. You know, it's funny, you could try to trick voters, but they tend to sniff it out, right?
The only thing that gets Americans out to the polls is like defensive posture to not have all of their civil liberties get eroded. It's like they recognize that the Supreme Court is going to fuck them. So they're like, if there's a ballot measure, I'm there. I'll be there no matter
From what you're looking at right now, that's certainly not out of the question.
All right, Steve Kornacki, thank you very much. We're going to check in with you a little bit. Claire McCaskill, former Democratic senator of Missouri, and she joins me now. Let's start on Kentucky.
Yeah.
Why? Chris! Why? Why do you have this potato on?
In the ballpark.
The margins were very similar for Trump in Missouri.
A very impressive showing.
Yeah.
By a Democratic governor in that state.
And here's what's really important about Kentucky. We've had these initiatives on the ballot, but it has been the issue of abortion that people have been voting on, not candidates.
Right.
And what Bashir did is he made...
She won one race, dude. One time. One fucking race. And that's it. She gets brought up as like the fucking Republican whisperer all the goddamn time.
Is that this issue, the extreme position they have taken on this issue in my state and many other places in the Republican Party, including the new Speaker of the House, by the way,
right,
who is on this issue.
Like, Democrats win against like one fucking guy. Actually, I guess Doug Jones never got this level of play. Like, I was going to say, she literally won one fucking time, man. One time. And they have to permanently solidify her legacy as like the guy, not the guy who lost to fucking Josh Hawley, but the guy who defeated a Republican by applying the Pied Piper strategy. It's so fucking annoying.
We knock his head off on this.
Exactly.
And we have now seen this over and over again. We saw it in races in Michigan.
Thank you. The guy she beat said that there are legitimate rapes, dude. Like, this was the one very successful incident. The one very successful instance where, like, in the primaries, they beefed up the one guy who was, like, bad. So bad. That like, even fucking people in Missouri were like, nope, not doing it. Voting for her instead. And she was the worst, most Republican Democrat you could have, who like sided with Trump regularly, wanted to build a wall, and was a fucking absolute sociopath, just an awful politician, lost, and yet she is MSNBC's favored son, favored daughter. Every time they want to talk about like a Democrat doing well in a red state, they have to bring this potato back.
He was the ultimate party crasher in the state of Kentucky, Tea Party guy, totally at loggerheads. This guy, Daniel Cameron, is Mitch McConnell's dude.
He is.
He is knighted by Mitch McConnell. And he just got his butt kicked tonight.
Well, it looks like he's certainly going to get his butt kicked tonight in a state that Mitch McConnell likes to proudly say that he still has his fingers on all the levers of power. So it is a wake-up call, I think, for the Republican Party, but it needs to be a wake-up call for the Democratic Party.
Kentucky's too racist to vote for a black guy.
Year. The fundamentals in this country are on the Democratic side, on Joe Biden's side.
They thought he was a
we have
Democrat.
the ability now. I mean,
It's simple, man. It's simple, okay? Red states vote for blue governors all the time, and vice versa. The gubernatorial race is the one race that is not directly tied to party politics. That's it. There's no reason to, like, engage with this in a way that is, like, totally unique or some shit. Like, this happens all the time. It's a constant factor. Why is it like that? I don't fucking know. I mean, I do know. It's because they care about, like, what the governors do. Governors are not super married to national politics. Democrats are not super married to, like, the party politics. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. Like stronghold states like California, Florida now, I would even say. But even Florida, like, Ron DeSantis won by very slim margin the first time around. New York. California has had a Republican governor, same for New York. Yeah, California used to be, when it had Republican governors, it was also way more Republican. California's demographic shift is partially responsible for it becoming like a blue safe haven. Like, I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a better example, not like fucking Ronald Reagan. But my point is, most of these guys don't win on party lines usually in states like that. They usually win on their personal charisma or their own policies. Kentucky in here, sports betting was just legalized here in the opening month. People spent $275 million on sports betting. That was something Bashir was a big proponent of, and that went a long way towards his popularity. Oh my God, really? Massachusetts Democratic governor, when the Republican governor we worship decides they're bored and wants to do something else. Oh, you mean like fucking Mitt Romney, the greatest Republican governor of Massachusetts of all time? My man literally implemented socialized, like, not socialized healthcare, but a form of Obamacare before Obamacare. It was called Romney Care. Isn't sports betting already legal in Kentucky? I was at a racetrack betting on horses in Kentucky 3 weeks ago. Maybe online. I don't know. Do you think the Democratic Party is going to spend a whole year trying to tell us how Biden is somehow still reelectable after all that's happened? Yes. Also, Israel does not factor into Biden's electability that much, because I would say that most of the fucking demographics that were not going to vote for Biden also happen to be the only demographics that care about Israel from the perspective of Palestinians. So if anything, it just like solidifies that he's lost the youth vote in its entirety, and there will be lower youth vote participation unless like they're able to do something. I don't know, like maybe additional like somehow bringing back like student loan debt relief or something. But under the age of 44 are the only demographics that are like, Brandon is doing too much for Israel and needs to do a ceasefire. But he was already not very strong on the youth vote anyway. As far as like Palestine goes, I don't think that like I don't think that Brandon's handling of Palestine spells legitimate political trouble for him, with the exception of like enclaves where there are a lot of Muslim voters. Obviously, Michigan being an important state, he will lose out on older Michigan voters that would have voted for the like Arab Michigan voters that would have voted for Joe Biden. There's also another thing that I've talked about. There's also something that I've talked about a lot that people have said, Hasan, you're wrong for saying this, but the black vote has not only in recent years the black vote has diminished as far as like people have moved away from voting and became non-voters in higher percentages in comparison to like black voter participation from previous years in comparison to other demographics in the country. Obviously, like this last election was defined, in my opinion, by mail-in ballots. So obviously there was a massive boost to participation in general, but comparatively to other demographics, it had lowered over time. And there is one unique thing that has happened this time around, which is that black voters, specifically black men, are not only not voting, they're actually now moving to vote for potentially Trump. That's a huge deal. This has always been the most reliable demographic, not black men. Black women have been the most reliable demographic for the Democratic Party, but black voters in general have been one of the most reliable voting blocs for the Democratic Party. So there's like an attitude readjustment, I guess, like the classic. Out of the remaining groups that do vote, Democrats are kind of dominating with Joe Biden with white men in ways that they haven't before, specifically college-educated white men. College education is a big factor where Republicans lose out on a lot of college-educated voters, but they're picking up voters on other demographics that they normally would not succeed in, whether it be Latino voters, depending on which area you're looking at. And like I said, even black voters as well. What the fuck is this? God damn it. Anyway. Meanwhile, all the courtroom theatrics are not doing anything for Donald Trump and only helping him.
Teach you how to eat.
Here is Maoist Third World as Van Jones.
The good news is this. But here's the good news is this. We're a year out. The good news is that we are a year out. And I am glad that we're getting this news.
Biden is down pretty bad in battleground states, though, while most U.S. supporters supports a ceasefire. Brother, I wouldn't. There's one constant in American politics. It's that we love killing Muslims, okay? Americans will always consistently be in favor of killing Muslims harder. Brother, sister. Okay? So, yeah, Americans want a ceasefire, but I mean, if you look at all of these other, if you look at all the other polls conducted on this, like, there's more Americans who think Biden is doing a good job or should even do more. Usually, people, the largest chunk of those polled in America think that Brandon is doing a good job, and then the second largest chunk thinks that he should be doing more for Israel. So, I don't think Americans care as much. I don't think you. I think you are. You're motivated a little bit by like what you hear here. Okay. Even though, yes, voters agree for a ceasefire and a de-escalation of violence in Gaza, I have seen this. Okay. Yes, even though voters across party lines agree that the U.S. should call for a ceasefire and a de-escalation of violence in Gaza, you have to remember, if you look at all these other polls that have been conducted, I'm telling you, there are plenty of polls that show Americans are broadly in support of Joseph Robinette Brandon's actions in Israel. You forget that the only group of voters that are even remotely moved away from the unconditional support to Israel attitude are those who are under the age of 44. I've seen enough, and a victory for the pro-choice side. Ohio issue 1, a measure to establish a right to an abortion in the state constitution passes. Yeah, except, for all of you who living in Ohio, lol, you still live in Ohio. I'm just saying. You might be celebrating now, thinking, God damn, we did it, except now you must remember that you still live in Ohio, so... Exactly. Index pointing at the viewer. I can't. Seriously, dude, fuck yourself. Do you think there's a bounce back on the approval if Biden says Hamas is coming in through Mexico or whatever fear-mongering rattles Americans? Mike from PA thinks Biden is done. I think it's too early to tell, but it's certainly not looking good. I mean, it's still too early to tell. A lot can happen in a year. Remember, at this point, last time around, COVID had not happened yet. Think about that. This point, last time around, in the last election cycle, COVID had not happened yet, boys. So, you know, obviously, that's like a dramatic, world-changing event. But, having said that, a lot can happen in a year is what I mean. But that was detrimental to the incumbent. What would happen that benefits Biden? I don't know. There's like 98 charges that the Biden's opponent is withstanding. That's huge, man. Like, what? Also, both of them are so fucking old they could die. I'm not even joking about this. I mean, Biden more than Trump, really. So, just wait. You know, you fucking don't know, is what I mean. You don't know. Stamina and sharpness to serve as president via new national CNN poll. Donald Trump, 53% yes, has stamina/sharpness. 47% says no, no stamina/sharpness. For Joe Brandon, 25% say yes, has stamina and sharpness. 74% say no stamina and sharpness. Oh my God. I agree. How excited are you for another 4 years of Trump content? I might die. Because, like, I think people forget. My roommate is a shitlib who thinks you're being unreasonably hard on Biden when you say he's barely conscious. What? An unreasonably hard on for Biden is a death sentence, okay? That's all I'm going to say on the matter. Your roommate is delusional. A light breeze could take my man out at this point, okay? A light breeze. Or the Trump train. As far as answering your question, how excited are you for another 4 years of Trump? While on the one hand, I do love Trump for content because he's so content. I also remember how angry he made me over the course of the 4 years of his reign, where I totally remember being way more upset than, you know, having fun with it, only because I've maintained this position. Trump is at his best when he has no power. Like when he's just tweeting. Like he's so fucking sick when he's not like leading a movement, when he doesn't have the bully pulpit, but instead is just like kind of being stupid and petty and sassy. Like if he had a television show, I would watch it forever. I would watch it nonstop. When he's the president, though, all of his like dumb shit turned into like very real forms of white supremacist terror. And I don't like that. Biden 2.0 expect a more aggressively left-wing second term. Every single person that said who Omega Law is about to get fucking sternly written letters about how the party of socialism and liberation is the only way forward to build a vanguard movement or whatever. I mean, they're fine. They're like great activists overall. I don't have a problem with like PSL. It's fine. They're great organizers. If she gets more than 0.1%, I will donate 100 gifties. Okay, well, you know that that's not going to happen. What the fuck? Who knows? But despite the lawsuits, he's still head-to-head with Biden, so shouldn't it be worse for Trump? Like, do the voters even care that much? No, I think, like, voters saying they would vote for Donald Trump right now versus voters saying they will vote for Donald Trump if he's, like, arrested and in jail are two entirely different set of standards.
A guy who's
voters might say they're going to vote for Donald Trump even if he goes to jail right now, but
hopes and dreams for him. Even if he does not win tonight, you haven't heard the last of Daniel Cameron. Let me ask you a question that we're going to hear from some Biden-supporting Democrats tonight and tomorrow, assuming that Andy Bashir's lead holds. But
No, there is a trial that will happen. There's a trial that is about to happen in February or March, and it will be televised. Now, that could backfire dramatically on those who want to see Trump removed from power. And what do I mean by this? Like, that could literally fucking destroy, because Trump would be a ratings killer, okay? Because he just pops off in court. It's going to get moved. They always get moved. We'll see. We'll see. It'd be pretty sick. That I am excited about. That's my Super Bowl times a million, you know?
Maybe, especially, again,
Okay.
Joe Biden's, we come to the initiative in Ohio. I'm not going to posit tonight that Joe Biden is going to be competitive in Ohio. That's not a criticism of Joe Biden. Donald Trump won Ohio by 8 points. It's been trending Republican for a long time. It's interesting. We don't have exit polling in Kentucky. It would be fascinating to have a
Red
study
line
in Kentucky
politics.
after this. How much of it is the Bashir brand, which in Kentucky is a lot stronger than the Biden brand, right? It's a family name. It's a legendary family.
Dude, what will it take for these fucking donkeys to realize that their politics are not popular, and the only way that they actually win is not by, like, popular support, but because they've completely fucked the entire system, and that they don't necessarily need popular support because they've gerrymandered everything into fucking oblivion. They've dismantled the legislative body, and they've stacked the courts with, like, some of the most psychotic, pedophilic, vampire, right-wing Federalist Society psychos, and completely completely dictate what happens in American governance through state legislatures. Like, it's a sham. These fucking idiots literally think that they mistake getting their political aspirations across with actual popularity. This is why they constantly fucking cry about not having enough representation for incredibly annoying, acne-faced weirdos that wear suits and look like they're 55 years old when they're actually 18, young Republicans in television. That's why they're like, why aren't we being represented in culture more? It's like, because you're fucking annoying. You suck shit. Nobody likes you. Your politics are violent and awful. Nobody likes you. You have mistaken being able to realize your political aims through non-democratic means with actual popularity. You are not actually popular in a country that I would say is pretty fucking socially conservative too. That's how bad your politics are. Like, we're talking about a nation where the overwhelming majority of citizens just have apathy for trans people, right? But your politics are so gross and so violent that no one will ever be a single issue voter on the issue of, like, killing trans people because the one guy is hysterically, constantly, sweatily telling them that they're chopping off little girls' penises or little boys' penises and little girls' pussies or whatever the fuck you've made your political aspiration. Nobody cares about that. You come across like a fucking psycho, okay? Most people are like, dog, I was with you. I think trans people are kind of weird, but holy fuck, dude, you're way weirder than trans people. That's like literally most of the country looks at these sweaty fucking losers like they're absolute freak lords. Okay? Because it's nuts. It's nuts. Nobody is as sweaty as, like, trying to fucking murder 14-year-old girls for the crime of, like, getting an abortion. Okay? It's nuts. Okay, but do the Democrats have rising stars? Oh, I know exactly what photo you just posted. the female mind, the beta mind, and the liberal mind are all the same. None of them can comprehend the levels of alpha male in this photo. I like that they're kind of making fun of themselves. Like, this is exactly what I mean. These are like, I'm not allowed to make fun of these kids because they're literally 12, okay? Very weird. Anyway, it's just so shitty. I'm willing to bet even these kids, I'm willing to bet are like way more interested in like, I don't know, instituting like Fourth Reich style politics, but like even they're not like as on board with the anti-trans shit as like Matt Walsh is, okay? A lot of these like younger Republicans are just like super invested in like Nazi stuff, like esoteric Nazi memes. But like even they don't give a shit that much about trans people. They just think like trans people are weird or whatever or gross. But like nobody has the hysteria and the singular mind to like eviscerate all trans people as the average Republican state legislature that's backed by like the Prosperity of Families Council or whatever kind of like weird Republican 501c4 that just like dumps $100 million into like every fucking tiny race that they can because they are literally just like invested in one thing, okay? ISIS-style Sharia law on fucking trans people. They love cross-dressers. Trans people is very popular in young conservative circles for like the last 15 years. Lol. Yeah. Anyway, if you showed these kids photos from Abu Ghraib, they would be ruined instantly. They're not as extreme as the real freaks yet. Maybe. These kids should stay the fuck away from Republican Party politics, okay? It's a target-rich environment for pedophilia. I don't know why they're all like, why they're so invested. I'd stay the fuck away from Matt Gaetz. I'd stay the fuck away from, what's his face? God, which the one who was like sexually assaulting his staffer? Fuck. I mean, there's so many of them. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Matt Schlapp. Anyway. What is this? I agree with Ben that Danica Rome will hold on and win the Virginia SD30 race. There basically is no path for GOP to win the Senate, although there's not enough votes yet in SD22 to call it. Democrats on track to hold Virginia State Senate. 8:32 p.m. projection. Danica Rome defeats Bill Wolf in the Senate District 30. Current Senate is 14 GOP, 19 Dem, and 7 undecided.